Like the Irish guy was going to let this one pass. Hello, I'm Emmet Ryan, and welcome to Ballin Europe. Well, it's almost time for the NBA playoffs and the EuroLeague playoffs. Ireland season ended at the weekend, so it's been mad out all while. Of course, Basketball Champions League playoffs are underway. FIBA Europe Cup going on. There's a lot of basketball, is what I'm trying to say here. But today we're all about the best, also only Irish player in the NBA right now. That is, of course, Pat Connaughton. He is American by birth, American citizen, proud American, but also an Irish citizen. So we're going to talk about him today because naturally he just went off for his career best game at the regular season finale. And we're going to discuss what we think Pat's going to be like with the Bucks for the postseason, the struggles he's had, and just our general hopes and dreams of Pat Connaughton. There's a lot I think he can do. There's a lot he's still contributing to, but he's had to work his way back into the rotation. So a lot to get through. So yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Especially if you're a Bucks fan kind of going, what? Yeah, Pat's also Irish. So anyway, it'll be somewhere there, the subscription button. And let's get to it. So we got to start off with, of course, that regular season finale, 43-11-5. For context, 4 Bucks in history have had 40 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists in a game. They are, I can't believe I'm saying this, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Chris Middleton. And Pat Connaughton. That is the company he has joined in terms of doing this, wearing Milwaukee colors. Just incredible. I had to pause there for that. But yeah, it was obviously a huge performance, and it extended the Bucks' win streak to 8, which is superb momentum coming into the playoffs. And it's not the source you expect to see it from. Obviously, it was last game of the regular season. People are doing different things with their rotations. Pat still went off for a career high, and very well worth noting, Pat already held the career high for most NBA points scored by an Irish citizen in the NBA, but he hadn't actually recorded that career high while an Irish citizen. He hadn't got the citizenship yet. He since has, and so now that record, I know it's so important to so many of you, that record is held by an Irish person while they were, an Irish citizen again. And so previous holders have included Donnie McGrath, and a few others. Obviously, Pat Burke's probably the best known Irish player, the only Irish-born player in NBA history. But yeah, great stuff, Pat Connaughton doing that. But talk about timing, because the Bucks, there's been the whole, sure, are they really there? Are they really there or thereabouts at all? Yeah, they're there. They are very much there. And they're now in a playoff series with the Pacers, who have also been wildly overlooked this season, and it makes for a fascinating situation with this playoff series. I think it's going to be a phenomenal series, by the way. Definitely under the radar in terms of how sneaky brilliant I think this series is going to be, talking as a neutral here. But yeah, for Pat, it's just phenomenal to see he's peaked about as good a time as someone can peak, and again, not the contributor you expect to be the heavy contributor. So his timing is excellent, and as Connaughton in the most Pat Connaughton way said, I'm sure I'm slightly misjumping his words, he loves the playoffs because the only set that matters is the win. I go, yes, although the injury report also kind of matters if you're planning on advancing, and winning more games. But yeah, so what about how he even got here? So Pat's a long-time Buck. He's a championship-winning Buck, and he's been there and thereabouts in the Bucks for a while, but for quite a while there was this sentiment amongst certain sections of Bucks fandom that they wanted to see him moved, that they felt, aging shooting guard wasn't really contributing that highly. They weren't generally feeling he was the guy they needed in that role off the bench to help them get a second championship with Giannis, obviously not a second overall. Yeah, there was a whole lot of that, and those of us are kind of going, who obviously, because Pat's Irishness, want what's best for Pat, are kind of going, oh gosh, I hope they're wrong. I really, really hope they're wrong. And it turns out, yeah, they were, but they had reason to believe that they might get their wish to come true. There was a lot of trade talk around Pat Connaughton being an asset that moved during the close to the trade deadline. And also, it's reasonable to assume that he would likely have been going to a team with fewer chances to succeed than the Bucks, given the way trade movements are at that stage. That whatever assets they'd be getting would be coming from a team which had a better player looking to move up, and Pat would be going down. And, might have got more minutes in the NBA, but he'd be playing less relevant basketball. And this channel wants to see Pat Connaughton playing relevant basketball. But obviously, Bucks fans, you've got your priorities. Bucks yourselves, you've got your priority. Your priority is the Milwaukee Bucks being in the best place to do so in the playoffs, which is why Pat coming good now is so important, because the questions have been there, who else is there for the Bucks that's going to step up? Pat's season averages aren't exactly eye-popping. Now, at about as late a point in the season as you can get, literally the last game of the regular season, that 43-11-5 day. Or was it 6? I may be getting the last stat wrong. I think it was 5 though, wasn't it? Anyway, Pat went off. He got his big night. He had his big showing. And for those of us who are, rooting for our people, that means a lot. And also, by the way, this is ball in Europe. We're rooting for Giannis all the time. It's not least because whenever we talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo, our traffic goes up. So little bit of bias, just a little bit of bias. But yeah, so Connaughton delivering, and also sort of paying back the Bucks for not moving on from him, for sticking with him. That's great. So let's talk about the postseason. So, like we said, the Bucks need someone else who can step up on top of the stars, on top of Giannis, on top of Lillard. They need more, and Connaughton brings an awful lot, especially in this series. He's got good spacing, he's got the energy, and of course he has that playoff experience, which against his Pacers side could be very, very big assets. That he can also score, and score reasonably efficiently when things go right is great. But he brings that little bit of veteran nous, which I think is going to be necessary for the Bucks in this series. So that's huge, obviously, for them. It's a fascinating campaign, this postseason, I think. Obviously, we haven't got the full layout yet for who's playing who, but I think at most there will be, of the 8 first-round series, one that I don't consider box office. I just love the pairings in the postseason. And so obviously, from this corner's perspective, seeing Pat Connaughton being involved in one of those, and potentially very heavily involved in one of those, very, very exciting. I think he really could be a bit of an X factor through the playoffs, because it's not going to be an easy road whoever wins the NBA title this year. It never is, but this one just looks like, there's so much balance, so much parity, but of course the Bucks aren't on the favorite side of things either. They're going to have a tough road if they're going to go deep, never mind, get another chip. And you look at Connaughton and you go, he's not going to be the guy, not going to those silly illusions, don't worry. But I think he could be a very, very key piece in ensuring continuity, and that the Bucks build on that momentum they have coming out of the regular season, but also when they lose a game, because it's the playoffs, no one goes perfect in the playoffs. The Sixers famously nearly did back in '83, but it doesn't happen often. And it just doesn't happen. So you look at this and you go, right, that's the guy you need to have, who's there. We've been there, we've done this, we've picked ourselves back up, we go again. And I think that mentality of Connaughton, that it's not just coming from the superstars of the team, that it's coming from the other vets, and a Connaughton-type presence like that could be crucial in the locker room come those tough nights, those tough stretches during the postseason. I think the Bucks are very, very capable of going far, but I also think the Pacers are very capable of taking them out in this first-round series. It is going to be a box office one. I'm very excited for this playoffs first round. Now, matchups quite often, by the way, and it wouldn't be the first time, you'll have a great first round and a great conference finals, as in both sides, but sometimes your semifinals, just because styles make fights, don't work out. So we'll see how the conference semifinals work out. But, a very, very deep stacked first round is always very exciting. So yeah, and obviously I would be hopeful that Pat will, take the inspiration from that to go, maybe it's time I wore a different shade of green. And because Pat has hinted before he'd like to play for Ireland. He's 32 now, so we're getting to that stage where thereabouts. Obviously, very young family, very successful wife as well, professional soccer player. So he's got a lot on his mind. But for those of us on this side of the Atlantic, it would be enormous if he could one day see Pat, don this cap, wear the green, come out for Ireland. But listen, we don't know if that'll happen. What we do know is that Pat made a bit of history a few days ago. Very proud of him for that, and we hope he can continue to deliver for the Bucks. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It really, really helps. And yeah, I guess, as I like to say at the end of these videos, I will see you soon.